Today we're going to be using the sticks as feedback to bring more body awareness to common lifts, mobility work, and some of the staple moves of stick mobility so that you get the most out of your training. So we're going to be using one long stick and one short stick for today. So the long stick is going to be placed on the floor right underneath you. We're going to start with some lunges. Now, what's really common with either working from a half kneeling position or working with lunges is that the back foot likes to, or I should say the back leg likes to externally rotate from the hip. This is a common compensation because this position is more stable than this position with that back leg internally rotated, and it has to do with this supporting hip. If that back leg is rotated, I've got a tripod stance. If that back leg is internally rotated, this hip has got a lot of work to do to stabilize the body. So we want that hip to work to stabilize, so we're going to use this long stick as feedback to help prioritize that internal rotation of the back hip. So in your lunge position, the back toes will be untucked for the first few reps. So you're going to get that left knee and foot really close to that stick and place the right leg in front. So I'm on the left knee, making sure that that back foot is not across or touching that stick. We're using that stick as feedback to keep that back hip internally rotated. The stick is going to be just inside the stick on the floor at 12 o'clock. So this stick is going to be used as stability. So I'm stabilizing by using that short stick, pressing it into the ground. So you're going to drive that stick into the ground at 40% tension, and at the same time, I want you to drive the top of that left foot into the ground with 40% tension as well. Notice how that activates that back hip. Keeping that tension on the ground with the left foot, see if you can lift the stick off the floor and maintain that position. Hold that for 3, 2, 1. Bring the stick back down. Take a breath, release some of that tension, and let's do that again. Drive the stick into the floor at 40% tension. Drive the top of that left foot into the floor at 40% tension. Maintain the tension on the left foot as you lift the stick and hold. Try to maintain that lunge position. Try not to let this front leg wiggle around and pull that knee out, and bring the stick down. Take a deep breath, release some of that tension, and let's go again. Drive the stick and that left foot into the floor. Notice how you might also feel some engagement in the adductors, the inner thighs of that right leg out in front. Now hold that tension as you lift the stick and hold for 3, 2, 1. Now we're going to do 2 more reps. If you would like to progress it, we can tuck the toes under on that back leg. And then we're going to lift the knee. So drive the stick into the floor at 40%. Drive that left foot into the floor at 40%. Now increase to 50%, and you're either going to, if you're sticking with the last progression, lift the stick, or if you're progressing, lift the knee and hold. 3, 2, 1, and bring the knee down. Now that hip has got to work extra hard to lift your body weight up and still stabilize in that position. So let's do that one more time. Drive into the floor. Increase to 60% tension this time. As you lift the knee, try not to shift too far forward with your weight. Keep that weight on that back leg. Slowly lower and release. Let's switch sides. So I'm going to show you from this angle this time. Right knee is going to be down, and we're starting with the toes untucked. Stick is at 12 o'clock. Now, whichever hand you had on top before, let's switch it. Okay, we're always going to switch it up. So make sure that that right leg is not externally rotated. We want the foot to be right behind the knee. And we're going to drive that right foot and the stick into the floor at 40% tension, engaging that back hip and the adductors, the inner thighs on that front leg. Maintain that tension in the legs as you lift the stick and hold. 3, 2, 1. Bring the stick down, release some of that tension, and let's go again. Drive down into the floor with the stick and the leg at 40% tension. Maintain that tension as you lift up and hold. 3, 2, 1. Bring the stick down. Release some of that tension. Let's do one more at this progression. Drive the stick and the leg into the floor. Maintain that tension as you lift the stick up. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Bring that stick back down. If you would like to progress, go ahead and tuck the toes under on that back leg. Now this hip is gonna have to work really, really hard to stabilize as you lift the knee. Go ahead and drive down into the floor. We're gonna increase our tension this time to 50% of your max effort. And then keeping that tension, you're gonna lift up and hold. 3, 2, 1. Slowly lower back down, release that tension. We're just gonna do one more rep. As you exhale, drive down into the floor, activate this back hip, maintain that tension, increase to 60% this time, lift up without shifting forward and hold. 3, 2, 1, slowly lower and rest. Good news is you can stay on the floor, so you don't need to stand back up. We're gonna grab just the long stick and we're gonna use it for feedback in our 90-90 or shin box position. So whichever progression you're working on, whether that's the shin box with the foot attached to the thigh, the back knee bent a little bit more, or that full 90-90 position, the stick is gonna go right outside of the hip at 3 o'clock. So the right leg is in front, stick is gonna be out at 3 o'clock, just an inch or two away, and you're gonna reach all the way up so you have a straight arm on that stick. Now we're gonna be using the stick as feedback for this right side of the rib cage. So you're gonna drive that stick into the floor, pulling the right shoulder away from the ear and the rib cage away from the stick. So the biggest compensation in the 90-90 is the spilling out of this rib cage over here. So the stick is going to help stabilize you in this position, but also it's going to give you some feedback so you'll know if that rib cage is starting to leak out again. So we're driving that stick into the ground. You can wrap this left arm in front of the sternum, also holding onto the stick. You're driving down into the floor at 40% with the stick, but you're also going to be driving both knees and legs down as well. So we're activating the hips. So we're going to hold this position, again, using that stick for feedback. And then I'll turn this way. From here, can you maintain that tension into the floor with the legs and lift the stick away? Hold. So we're just lifting the stick 1 inch off the floor. And then bring that stick back down, refine that feedback and stability. You can let go of the stick if you would like with that left arm. If you feel secure there, drive the knees into the floor again and lift the stick away. Hold. Once again, try not to let that rib cage spill out into the stick. And bring it back down. Find that engagement again. We're going to do this 2 more times. Drive down into the floor with those legs. Keep that tension as you lift the stick and hold. 3, 2, 1. Coming back down. Some cramping in this trail leg hip or these obliques is common here. So if you're cramping, it will go away the more you practice. One more time. Drive those legs into the floor and lift the stick. Hold. 3, 2, and 1. Release. Let's switch to the other side. So now the left leg is going to be in front. The stick is going to be out at 9 o'clock, just a few inches away from that hip. Reach across the sternum with that right arm, and then we're going to press that stick into the floor, pulling the shoulder away from the ear and the rib cage away from that stick. So again, we're using that stick for stability in this position, but also for feedback, making sure that that rib cage isn't leaking out to the side. So if this is as far as you get today, that is perfectly fine. You're just going to hold this position, continue that tension into the legs and hips. If you would like to progress, we're going to lift up for 4. So you can keep this arm here or open, and we're going to lift up, hold. Really driving those legs and knees into the floor. Go ahead and bring that stick down, reset that tension, pull that rib cage away from the stick. And as you exhale, again, lift up and hold. Feel those tension in those legs. Good. And bring that stick down. Take a breath to reset. Take a breath here. Drive that front knee into the floor. and lift up and hold. Try to maintain that rib cage stacked right on top of the hip. Don't let it push out into that stick. Bring that stick down, take a breath. And let's go one more time. Keep the tension in the legs and hips as you lift up and hold. Last 3, 2, 1, and release. All right, let's slowly come out of that. Now the last 2 movements we're gonna do are against the wall. So we're gonna do a bow and arrow and a ninja flow using the wall for feedback. So our bow and arrow, we're gonna start by facing the wall. So if you're doing a bow and arrow, one of the most common compensations is allowing the body to push forward this way or open this way. So we've either got some twisting in the hips going on or twisting in the shoulders going on. And what we want is to really bend the body in a sideways position, almost as if you're in a narrow hallway, if there's a wall behind me, and we're just bending this way. So the first set we're gonna do facing the wall, and the next set we're gonna do facing away from the wall. And your goal is to not hit the wall as you go through this movement. So you're gonna get just 2 inches away from the wall with your toes at about shoulder width. The stick is gonna go in your right hand, placed at 3 o'clock, somewhere between 6 and 12 inches away from your right foot. You're gonna reach overhead and grab the top of the stick with the thumb facing down with that left hand. Drive the stick into the floor. We're working at 40% tension here. You're gonna reach your hips away from the stick and then push into your bow and arrow, but make sure that one hip is not reaching towards the wall or the stick. We're gonna make sure that everything is staying equal distance away from the wall and we're not touching the wall in any way. Hold that position and slowly come on up. I'm gonna show you from this angle. If that was easy, get even closer to the wall, toes right up against it. Drive the stick into the floor, reach those hips away and push, hold. So we're bending in this sideways position only. Hold here for another 3, 2, 1. Come on up. And let's turn around. So now we're going to put our back to the wall. Stick is still going to stay on your right side. So I'm about 1 inch away from the wall with my heels. Drive the stick into the floor at 40%. Reach those hips to the side and press. Make sure that you're not pressing those arms back into the wall. Make sure you're not falling away from the wall. We're trying to reach those hips and the torso just next to that wall. Slowly come on up. Give that stick a little spin and let's go one more to this side. Drive into the wall, reach those hips away and stretch. It's like you're in that narrow hallway. We don't want to push too far forward or too far back. 3, 2, 1, and up. Let's switch sides. So we're going to face the wall. This time the stick is going to go in your left hand at 9 o'clock. So we've got shoulder width stance. Stick is close to that left foot, holding at waist height. Reach the right arm over top with the thumb pointing down. Drive the stick into the floor at 40% tension. Reach those hips away. Press into the stick and bend to the side. We're going to hold this stretch, making sure that you stay close to the wall but not hitting it. 3, 2, 1. Come on up. Give that stick a little spin. If you need to make it harder, get even closer to that wall. Reach those hips away and bend. Keep breathing here. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly come on up. And let's face away from the wall. Shoulder width stance, really up and close. Stick is at 9 o'clock. Drive into the floor at 40% and reach into that stretch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Up. Let's go one more time. I'll show you from this direction. Driving into the floor. Reach those hips away. Push into that stick. Breathe. Hold here for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and up. All right, so we've got one more movement and we are using the wall once again for feedback. This time in our ninja flow, the hips are going to sit back to the wall and slide against the wall. So I'll show you from this angle first. We're going to go into a wide stance. You want the feet to be about 4 to 6 inches away from the wall. The stick is going to go in your left hand, right inside that left instep at 9 o'clock. You're going to grab the stick at about eye level. Soften those knees and reach the hips back to the wall. Once the hips reach the wall, stop there. Then you're going to reach across the body with that right hand, with the thumb pointing down, hold on to that stick. We're going to pull that stick apart, and as you shift to the right, you're going to keep those hips on the wall. And you're going to rotate. Now, a big compensation when we use this movement is that the hips are uneven, right? So we want those hips to remain still so we can allow that spine to rotate. And then we'll shift to the left, again, keeping those hips against the wall. If you want to progress a little bit further, walk a little further away from the wall so you can get into a deeper range of motion. Again, keeping both hips against the wall as you lean away. And shift to the left. Keep pressing both hips into the wall. Pull that stick apart. Let's go one more time over to the right, shifting to the right. Keep both hips pressing into the wall. Rotate that spine. And shift to the left. And then let's slowly come back center and bring the hips underneath you. Let's switch sides and do that one more time. So we've got wide stance here. Toes are facing forward. The stick's going to go just inside that right instep. I'm holding that stick at eye level. Hinge at those hips so that the hips reach the wall, and then reach the left arm across with the thumb pointing down. So we're going to pull that stick apart, and then you're going to shift to the left, rotating that spine, holding here, and then shift to the right. So it really brings awareness to how much your hips may be moving in this movement. And then pull that stick apart, shift back to the left. And shift to the right. And let's do that one more time. Pull the stick apart, shift to the left. And then shift to the right. Slowly release to come on out of it. Nice work. I hope you gained some new awareness to some habits that your body may be using to get into some of these positions. I hope you had a great time, and I will see you next time.